this generation came to the end of themselves far earlier than any other generation.
Words unspoken are wounds untreated. Talk to me about how you met Lori.
Is this the way you flirt? Like, I don't know. Okay. Press send. An hour goes by. All of my family is left except my mom. She pats me on the back and says, "It's okay, buddy. You guys can just be friends." I'm like, "Shut up, Mom."
Hey, it's Rich, and you're listening to the Mature Me podcast, weekly content devoted to all things life, leadership, culture, and faith. Thank you for taking some time to tune in. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on all our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Mature Me podcast. My name is Rich Wilkerson Jr., and wherever you're tuning in from, we're so grateful that you're taking some time, an hour and a half, 2 hours out of your day just to join with us as we talk all things growing, all things maturing. This is the podcast that we want to get better. And wherever you're at, do us a favor, like, subscribe, share the content, leave us a comment. It helps us so much. So enjoy getting to hear your stories, who's tuning in, getting your feedback as to how this space is helping you. Today, I am joined by an old friend, and honestly, it makes me feel old because I met this young man when he was actually like a kid, and it's really cool to watch him become who he is. I'm a big fan of his. I love his preaching. I love his leadership. I love his family. And so we are joined by Pastor Sam Kelly, everybody.
Man.
I like adding the title Pastor.
Yeah, come on.
Sam
Carry
Kelly.
some weight to it.
It does carry. You look great, by the way.
You look great.
I'm doing a wedding here in a moment. I realize I'm kind of like
I love it.
matching your vibe all of a sudden.
You know, let's do it.
It's that Dallas grapevine flow.
Okay.
I can't keep up with you guys, man.
Dallas, Fort Worth, brother. Just need some boots.
Do you love that store, Buck Mason?
I'm a big Buck Mason fan. I am.
Me too. It's kind of scaring me because I feel like a lot of young preachers keep coming up to me. They're like, "It's Buck Mason, right?" And I'm like, dude, the fact that we're all wearing
Yeah,
it,
it's a problem.
none of us are unique.
It's like the leather jacket in 2015.
Yes, totally. By the way, Sam was at church with us this past Sunday. He's in town taking some rest, and he came to church and he posted, he's like, "Man, I love hearing Rich Wilkerson you preach, especially when he's dressed like a biker." I'm like, dude.
Let's talk about the boots though.
So mad
because
at
they had
myself.
orange bottoms. Were they
It's too
Harley
much.
boots?
Yeah, it's too much.
They're Harley Davidson boots.
Bro, you don't know
My
about
dad would be so proud of
but
you.
you don't know about a midlife crisis yet.
Yeah, you're
How
right.
old are you?
I'm 32.
Yeah, you wait. You'll see it comes, you know. I mean, I'm dyeing my hair.
Yeah, I love
I'm
that.
wearing Harley boots. I don't have a motorcycle. Our pets' heads
loved
are
it.
falling off.
I loved it.
Dude, it's too good, brother. I'm trying to think when I first ever met you. Like, you're 32 years of age.
I would have been a teenager, but you
Had to have been.
spoke at our youth conference, Soul Central Youth Conference.
Yes.
Back in the day.
Would you have been a teenager then? Because I would have been like
Yeah.
25 maybe.
Yeah, I would have been like 13.
Yeah, you'd have been 14, 15. You know what's funny? I don't know if I've ever told you this before, and we'll get into Sam's backstory a little bit. That moment at Soul Central Youth Conference, Wave Conference, was actually like, I think life is, you know, so much more than just a moment. It's stringing all the moments together. But you can also look back in your life and go, man, that was like kind of a breakthrough thing. I preached at that, and I can tell you that's a funny story how that all came about. But there, Joel Houston was at that.
Yes.
Brooke Lidgett was there. Jensen Franklin was there.
No way.
Out of that conference, I ended up preaching at Hillsong conference, ended up preaching at Free Chapel. So many other like wild opportunities.
That's unreal.
When I was 25, all from that moment.
How cool is that?
Do you know that story or no?
No.
Right?
What's the story?
So I fly in to Virginia Beach to visit my friend Carl, and I stay at a host home. But you gotta already love that. Like, this is like, like someone in the church, and you would know the family. I just can't think of their name right now.
Put you in a host home?
No, it's probably Carl. Like, I think it was one of Carl's friends. I'm just going.
You were just coming in to hang.
Yeah, host homes, maybe that's true. I wasn't a missionary to Virginia Beach.
Like, good
but
night.
you know what it's like in the 757.
Oh,
I mean, I was there really evangelizing the streets.
Yeah.
Point is, like, I couldn't afford a hotel back then. I stayed with somebody from the church that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't stay at Carl's house. And I think like night one, maybe your dad had preach or someone had preach, and they were hanging out at somebody's house, and it's like late. It's like 11 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
And Carl's like, hey man, can I talk to you real quick? I'm like, yeah, well, what's up? He's like, just feel like you're supposed to take my session tomorrow. And he's like, you down to preach? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But like, brother, I don't have a message.
I love that.
So I go back that night. I don't know. I get back to the host home at midnight. I borrow a computer and I'm like writing.
That's not real.
This is a true story. I'm writing a sermon.
You wrote a new sermon.
I don't know what I did. I'm 25. I'm just trying to like, this is like so many years ago. This is 16, 17 years ago. I'm writing something.
John 3:16.
And then I came there and I preached. And
that's wild.
Rest is history.
You could never tell. I loved it.
Look at
Don't
me
remember
now.
what you preached, but I was impacted.
I do remember going to that conference. It was really special.
That's crazy.
Yep. So
yeah, I didn't know the backstory.
So I owe you everything.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Tell everyone a little bit about who you are, how you grew up. You're a pastor's kid. You're leading an amazing ministry today, but we're kind of cutting up stories. Tell them about Virginia Beach, but even maybe go a little bit further back if you can.
Yeah, pastor's kid. My dad, so I was born in Sydney, Australia, and my dad was a pastor at Hillsong. And then in 1999, I was 5 years old, moved to Virginia Beach, right in the middle of the East Coast. Dad planted a church called Wave Church, and I'm the youngest of three. And so grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and grew up kind of in the worship, creative arts world. That was kind of my thing. And the cool story about my parents is they were both grew up non-Christian families. My dad was raised by two alcoholics who owned a bar, like just the worst case scenario possible. He was born in Queens, New York, moved to Australia for a fresh start. And he just, when he was 17 years old, gets convinced to come to church. He went to a bar before because he didn't want to go. And he said the service was so long that he sobered up and someone gave a salvation call and his hand goes up and he ends up going to the altar. His life's radically changed and transformed. Ends up meeting my mom through some different church services. They get married and just go all in on the ministry. And so again, end up going to Hillsong for a bit. Then my dad feels like God's put a church inside of him. So he goes to the East Coast, again, plants Wave, and the rest is kind of history. But I grew up with such a passion for the church because of my parents' love for the church. They shielded us a lot from a lot of the negative side of things and just grew up with such a hunger and desire for the church. I didn't really want to go into ministry growing up in middle school and high school until my 11th grade. I was playing soccer and soccer was kind of my thing. And then 11th grade at a summer camp was just kind of wrecked and knew, okay, it's ministry for me. And again, was in the creative worship world and just dove head first into all of that. And then went on staff at Wave and got married to my wife, who is from Dallas, Texas, who you know. Yeah. And I told her when we were dating, like, hey, just so you know, like if this is going to go anywhere, like Virginia Beach is it, because she's a pastor's kid as well. And she was like, okay, sounds good. So we get married. And 2 years into marriage, feel like God is tugging on my heart to go to Dallas. And I'm like kind of afraid to tell her because I'm like, if I tell her, she's gonna be like, let's go yesterday. Like, let's just get out of here. Not because she didn't love Virginia Beach, but just because it's home. Sure, that's where family is. And so
parents are there.
Yeah, exactly. And so I end up telling her and she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, well, now I don't know. And so we took some more time and really felt like that was where God was leading us. And so in 2018, we moved to Dallas, Texas, started off in the worship world, leading worship at a location at Fellowship Church. And in 2020, we had a transition on staff with one of our youth pastors, which is just a church word for saying somebody quit. And I get a call from Lisa, my mother-in-law, and Pastor Ed, my father-in-law, and they're like, hey, so you ready to take over youth? And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. I've never preached. And they're like, no, seriously, we think you're the guy for the job. And I was like, if that's where you want me, that's where I'll go. Because I didn't say yes to a position. I said yes to the house. Wow. And wherever they wanted me to be is where I was going to be. And so took over in the middle of COVID. And it was like an Instagram live. And it was like 30 kids on like, hey, I'm your new youth pastor. And I don't know when I'll see you again. And so that was the story of taking it over. And then we ended up, starting to, like everybody else, meeting in person and people are spread out and all the rest of it. And over the past 6 years, God's done some really special things. But that's like a very quick.
No, I like the quick summary, and we're going to dig into it. But those that are watching, you guys are seeing, I think in so many ways, we use revival for lots of things. But I think that, culturally or contextually, wherever you're at, like that's a revival that's taking place that you guys are seeing in students in Dallas. And I was just with you guys a couple of weeks ago and just hearing some of the reports. It really is wild what you're getting to witness. And I want to get into it. I want to go back for a moment just with your parents, because your parents were a huge part of Hillsong Church, which became a global movement. They were there kind of in the early days too of, putting the nuts and bolts together of that and watching something from the ground up be built. Just taking a step of faith like that though, to leave, not when it's even done, but like when it's like, it's clear this thing is becoming something. How did they pick Virginia Beach? What do you know about that story? Because funny enough, as we're talking, I used to do a television show on TBN when I was 18.
Dude, I remember it.
And I interviewed your dad because he was down preaching for my dad. This is before I would have met you. And like he was on our, guess what our show was called?
What?
The Wave.
No way.
Which is wild. Yeah. I don't know why it was called. Yeah. The Wave. And it was like a Christian jackass.
Might be where my dad got it from.
What does that even mean? A Christian? Like that was the basis of our show. Like, see what they're doing, but we're going to redeem it. Like, okay.
What does that even mean?
So you do a prank and then you like, so guys, what we did right there is like, that took courage. That's, I promise you.
It's like the worst illustrations to get into.
Jan Crouch loved me. She believed in my dream.
Yeah, that's special.
Yeah. So, but I met your dad even when I was younger, when I was like 18, 19 years old.
That's wild. Yeah, I don't know a lot of the details. I do just know my dad was 8 or 9 when he left Queens, New York, to go to Australia. And he said from that moment as a little boy, he wasn't a Christian, but was just like, man, I'm gonna find myself back in the States. He loved the water, so he knew he wanted to be by the ocean. And for one reason or another, I think he ended up speaking at this church, and the pastor kind of approached him and just say, hey, if you're open to this, I'm looking to transition off. And so he ended up obviously talking to Brian about it, and yeah, like kind of the rest was history. But it's a big military town, and one of the things that I love is just they've been really intentional just to pastor these military families because they deal with such unique challenges. And one of the things on the flight over from Australia, because it's a big move, like for my mom, all my mom knew was Australia. So she's literally going across the world to follow, obviously, her husband's dream and the dream that God has for their life. But he just said on the flight over, one of the things that he felt like God was telling him to do was just to honor the military. And so they just have done such a great job. Like we literally joke, but there's like Navy SEALs and a bunch of team guys and a bunch of just crazy people that go to the church and love the church just because of how well they've loved and pastored that community. So that's kind of my understanding of the story. Just kind of knew that he always wanted to be back in the States, knew he wanted to be by the water because he loves the water and the ocean. And
What was it like for you growing up as a pastor's kid? I think there's always like those jokes. It's like you either go to the ministry or you go to jail. And I heard one comedian say, and some do both, which is terrible.
I love that.
But like just the idea, like, did you always kind of walk the straight and narrow? Your dad was always your hero?
Yeah,
did you rebel with your dad?
Dad was my hero. No real form of rebellion. I think a part of that was just like, my parents never pressured us to go into the ministry. It was like whatever we wanted to do. Like for me, it was soccer. At a time, it was baseball. Josh, it was soccer. They were just like, hey, like we want, if soccer is your dream, like we're going to pursue that dream. However, you're still called to be a Christ follower and be a light wherever you find yourself. And so ministry was never like this burden of like, man, I got to do what my dad does, and that's going to be horrible. It wasn't that at all. It was just like, man, whatever we did, our parents championed us. Church was always a priority. Our form of rebellion was like skipping sessions at Hillsong conference and throwing pistachios off the balcony. That's pretty much as bad as it got for us. But we just grew up, loved the church. Church was fun. It wasn't a chore. Like that's one of the things that I love about my dad. Like it was enjoyable being at church. And so yeah, that's.
I'm just so curious these days because like I have 4 kids. You have 2.
Yep, 3.
3.
Yeah, little girl.
Gosh.
She's almost 3.
Where was the little girl at on Sunday?
Best. We left her.
I like that.
Just brought the boys.
It was boys' day.
Yeah, for sure.
For you, like, don't you think now it's like once you become a parent, you start like going, all right.
Yes.
Maybe my parents were awesome. Like anything that you can like draw to that you're like, my parents were doing that. That's what cultivated a love for us for God, but also for his house. Because it's one thing to be a believer, it's something to be like, man, I really maybe want to fall in their footsteps one day.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was they always wanted, obviously it's cliche, but it's so true. Like they really desired for our relationship with Jesus to be our own. And so they championed just like, not like forcing, daily devotion. Like I've talked to some pastors' kids and it's like, we had nightly devotionals as a family. I'm like, that would be miserable.
Yeah.
But they just encouraged us and let us have our own personal relationship with Jesus and just had very organic conversations about what we maybe felt like God was speaking to us individually about. And they parented us differently based on our personalities. Like Josh and I are pretty different. We have some similarities. And then Alyssa, we say that she's the favorite child because she's smart and she's the only girl. But yeah, it was just like, they just let us have our own walk and journey with Jesus and never just created ministry to be this burden or church to be like this thing. It was like, I hear a lot of pastors' kids saying like, you feel like you're in the fishbowl. And to a certain degree, I didn't really feel that way. And I think a lot of that was just because of our parents. Like they just didn't allow those pressures to kind of sit on us. And so
it's powerful.
Those are some of the things that I just kind of take note of, like, okay, those are certainly things I want to do with my kids.
Your brother Josh is one of my favorite guys in the ministry.
He's awesome.
I just think that, he is the embodiment of like faithfulness, consistency, like just being a real pastor, serves his dad, makes it look fun. The two of you guys have always had a great relationship, or do you guys get in like punching matches or both and?
No, yeah, both and. But
these are all selfish questions for me because I want to raise my boys and I want them to be like Josh and Sam. I mean, that's quite frankly what's happening right now. But I'm like just curious, like,
no, we never. One of
how
the
many
things
years apart are you?
We are 3 years apart. So he's 34, I think about to be 35, and I'm 32. And we definitely, like, brothers fight. We fought a good bit. But one of the things that I really appreciate just looking at other different dynamics is like we competed like on a golf course, like, dude, we're on each other's throats. Like we want to destroy the other brother. But in life, we've never been competitive. Like we've always just wanted to cheer the other person on. And we've had like genuinely, Josh is one of my closest friends, like to this day. Like he's a person that I'll call of just like going through stuff and vice versa. So I've been very, very thankful to have an older brother to look up to and that I also call friend when I'm, in my 30s. It's not always the case.
That's my prayer for my kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm really working my two oldest, Wyatt and Wild. They share a room and I'm always just talking to them going, man, this is your best friend right here. Yeah. Whether they want to
feel like it right now,
totally.
son. But let me tell you, that's our boys. To you. 100%.
Talk to me about how you met Lori. Lori is Lori Young, by the way, and she is the daughter of a very well-known pastor.
Kelly now. Thank you very much, Rich.
Sorry, that's been a long time too. By the way, that's what I always do to this guy. It's like, he's like, dude, I'm not 16.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, man, remember when you used to be running around Hillsong? Like, dude, you're not that old either, Rich. Yes, Lori Kelly. But she's the daughter of a very well-known pastor. Yep. How did you guys meet? Because I want to
We met at a Hillsong conference in Sydney at the Pullman Hotel. And yeah, it was at a Hillsong conference, and it was, dude, it's like the most pastor's kid story ever. So we're like going to breakout sessions, like in groups, and I'm like trying to get her to like sit next to me.
Dude, you're so Christian.
Dude, so Christian. Like, it's like, what? That's your form of flirting? Like sitting next to each other in like a breakout at Hillsong conference. And then I get home. This is actually a wild story. So I get home, and I come home one night. I'll never forget this. I come home one night, and all of my family, which like we rarely were like all together at one time because everybody's just doing something. And so they're all together. I came home from like a Connect group or something, and my mom is sitting in the center, is like, you need to ask Laurie out to prom with you. And I'm like, Mom, she lives in Texas. I'm in Virginia Beach. Like, that's a pretty bold ask. Like, we've talked a couple of times. We met at Hillsong Conference. And she's like, you need to do it. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm getting my phone, and I am so nervous, dude. I'm texting, my whole family's around. So I'm texting her, it's like small talk at start, and she's texting back. And then I'm like, they're like, you need to go for the ask. And so I'm like writing this message, and I'm not kidding you, Rich. I was like, I can't do it. It's like, Josh, you take the phone, you write the text. So Josh takes my phone and writes a text, something to the equivalent of like, I've got the opportunity of a lifetime for you. Gives all the details for prom. Gives all the details for prom, and then is like, and don't worry, because if you say no, there's a line of girls waiting outside of my door.
Stop it.
And I'm like, 16, 17. I'm like, is this the way you flirt? Like, I don't know. Okay. Press send. Keep in mind, we were just texting back and forth. She had her phone. 10 minutes goes by, no text back. 30 minutes goes by, no text back. An hour goes by. All of my family is left except my mom. She pats me on the back and says, it's okay, buddy. You guys can just be friends. I'm like, shut up, Mom.
Oh.
Come to find out, she saw the text and thought it was a joke. She like turns her phone off and like does something else. 2 hours later, she texts back and was like, hey, are you being serious? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, okay, I'll come. So she comes to my prom. I asked her to be my girlfriend at prom, and the rest is history. But you want to talk about just sweating it out there for a bit. I was like, this is the worst moment of my mom's patting me on my back. Like, it's okay, buddy. You guys can just be friends. I'm like,
the whole story's so great that it's all the family in it. Your mom's like, this is what you need to do.
Yeah,
Did
totally.
you like her before this?
Yes.
Or, no, I did after my mom told me to.
No, yeah, right. No, I did. I liked her a lot. And I just was like, didn't know how to, I was just nervous. And so.
But you would have been, what, a junior maybe?
Yeah, I was a junior, yeah.
And so she.
Which is like also kind of sad. Like, you're 17 years old, Sam. Like, come on, dude.
Man.
You should be able to figure this out.
To the pure, all things are pure. I love it. Are you kidding me? That's what I want for my boys. Will you pray over my son today? Josh writes this text. Pastor Ed just lets her come.
Okay, so this is a wild story. So yes, so she comes with her mom. Her mom speaks at Mother's Day at Wave. And I knew I wanted to ask Ed before I asked her to be my girlfriend. And so we go to prom. Prom was great.
Bro, you're a good man.
Dude, I know. I'm just.
I would have married you.
I love that.
Sorry.
And so we're out at breakfast. We're out at breakfast, and it was lunch because it was after church. And they were leaving on a flight like right after this lunch. And so I was like, oh shoot, like I've got to call Ed if I want to ask her before she leaves. And so I'm like, hey, I just got to go grab a charger from the car. I go out. I'm terrified, dude. Like,
you're 17 or 16
years old, 17. And I don't even think, I maybe had met Ed in passing. And so I'm like, preparing myself. Like I'm getting like favorite Bible verses ready if he's asking, you know what I mean?
Your dad knows you're doing this?
Yeah. And so I go out and I call him and I'm like, hey, Pastor Ed, I just wanted to let you know I had a great time at prom with your daughter. And I'd love to ask her to be my girlfriend. But before I did that, I just would want your blessing. And there's like a pause and I'm like, oh no. And he's like, ain't nothing to it, just do it, my man. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, do you like fishing? And I'm like, I don't, but I can now.
Yes. Oh my God.
Like the most like, okay, that was a lot easier than I expected it to be.
He was easy.
Yes,
he was easy. Gave the blessing.
I was terrified. I'm thinking it's going to be this like 30-minute to an hour, like just drilling me on things. It was just like most Ed thing ever, by the way. Now that like, just ain't
now that you know
to
him,
it, just do it, bro. Like,
but power to you and respect to you that you even thought to ask the man.
Yeah. I
didn't ask Don Cherie's dad to make her my girlfriend. I probably should have.
Yeah,
I did.
Probably should have. Yeah, from there. Yeah.
Probably should have. 20 years.
Yeah.
25
for
years
that,
later.
Rich. That's okay. They probably look down upon you, but that's okay.
That's an IOU. So he was super cool.
Super cool. Yeah. And then we started dating long distance, and yeah, I told her like, hey, it's Virginia Beach for life for me. So like, this is where we're gonna be. And so she ended up coming out to college, and we went to college together, and then we ended up getting married, living in Virginia Beach, and then yeah.
How old were you when you got married?
21. It's young. How old were you?
21. 22. Yeah. I was 22. Don was 21.
Yeah, I feel like people are getting married way later these days.
Mistake.
Yep, I agree.
Great mistake.
Get married young.
Huge mistake. Sorry, I'm looking at Allie. Like Allie's like, I'm not against getting married. Sorry, like help. Put the blame on her. She's like, I'm thrilled. Allie works here on the show. Works on the show. Rich, it's not a show. Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the staff around here on the show, it's actually 3 friends, and we put this together.
Yeah, there's 60 people behind the cameras. Yeah. Rich is lying.
Sorry, we've got, well, if you call in now,
the live audience,
we're going to send you this blue blazer.
Yeah.
So she was there in Virginia Beach. Yeah, we were, honestly, our story is very, very similar. We met when we were 17 and we dated till we were 22 and 21.
Yep.
Went to college together, got married. I always think that like getting married to Don Tree was the greatest gift ever for me because
same here. Yep.
Changed my whole life, you know? Yep. But I do think people are getting married later.
Yeah.
And I think when you tell people that you got married, they're like, whoa.
But I also, the other side of that is now that being 32, I look at 21-year-olds, I'm like, dude, I can't believe I got married when I was your age. Like, you need help.
But aren't you kind of even impressed with yourself that at 17 you have the wherewithal to call your father-in-law?
Very impressed.
I was a special guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's that kind of stuff right now.
That's true.
That's why you're sitting here today. It's like, maybe I wasn't that
I'm not that bad. No, it's real.
I always think about some of the 2 biggest decisions I ever made my entire life was to follow Jesus wholeheartedly and say, I'm going to go into the ministry, 17.
Yep.
And to make
Unreal.
Dawn my girl. I'm like, how did that all happen?
Isn't it wild?
That long ago?
Yeah.
It's the grace of God.
It really is.
I think 17 is always such a special age. I feel like you can find it kind of biblically,
100%.
but just so many people I meet, it seems like
That's why I love youth ministry.
right?
Just such a special time frame where they're just forming who they are. And those decisions made in those years often, like for me, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for, having youth pastors that just believed in me. And so, yeah, it's huge.
So you end up working with your dad for a while, and then when you move to Dallas, what was that conversation like with your parents? Because that's a big move.
Tough. Yeah, because it was same thing. Like my brother, my sister are on staff there. And again, it was just like, it wasn't like this burden or like forced thing, like you're staying here. It was like, we all wanted to. And so I just felt like this leading for us to move to Dallas, and was kind of like torn up about it. Like what? I thought this was like it for us. And so I had a conversation with my parents that was, to this day, one of the hardest conversations I've ever had to have. But they were obviously shocked at first just because they didn't necessarily see it coming. And then we got to have some more conversations, and they were very, very gracious and got sent to Dallas. And so that was 2018. So I've been now in Dallas for 8 years. And parents to this day is still calling and talking, you know what I mean? It's not like the story of just like all the rest of it, but they were so kind to us as we made that.
What can you tell us in terms of, because those that are watching, if they're in the church world, they would probably be aware, but many maybe are not. Wave Church is a powerful church.
Yep.
Fellowship Church that your father-in-law leads is a powerful church.
Yep.
They serve the same God. They're both gospel-centered churches, but to me, different churches. Like, okay, what can you talk about in terms of similarities and differences?
Yeah, well,
one has a Baptist background, one has got a Pentecostal background. I think it's the same spirit.
Yeah,
Excellence,
100%.
people,
Which is
Jesus.
It's been one of the, looking back, again, I just think, I heard someone say recently, you can't connect the dots until you look backwards, and you just see that God just connecting these dots in my life. But yeah, like again, spirit-filled, like charismatic, from the Hillsong world.
Yep.
Wave Church, and so hunger, desire for the presence of God, and then coming to Dallas, Ed from a Baptist background, which I always say, like if you go to fellowship today and if you saw the church that Ed grew up in, I mean, you'd think that Ed is a raving charismatic. I mean, it is so it's not the quintessential kind of boring idea that people get with like all the rest of it. So one of the things that I love so much is just coming into this world in 2018 is not that charismatics, not that my dad didn't. My dad loved the Word of God and had a high view of Scripture, but there's just this desire from that Baptist background where the Word is held in such high regard. And I was talking with some pastors just recently of a lot of what's taking place right now, specifically in the next generation, is this marriage of word and spirit. And we're just seeing that the churches right now that are really making some moves are churches that, have a really high view of Scripture and understand the Bible and understand what Scripture's saying and understand the power of context and giving context to the people that are listening. And also are moving in the Spirit and understand that the Spirit is alive and active and working today. And so I feel like it's just been this beautiful marriage of my life of just seeing these two sides that aren't at all at odds with each other, but just getting to see the strengths of these areas come together has been so helpful for me.
And getting there, what would have been like some of the challenges in the beginning in terms of what felt different to you that you're like, I have to learn this?
Well, I think the other thing is Dallas, Fort Worth in general is so different.
Yeah.
Like in Virginia Beach, one of the things that I loved, especially in youth ministry, was like you were either a Christian or you weren't. There was no middle ground. Like if you were in it, you were in it. And if you were out of it, you were out of it. And you knew. You come to Dallas, Fort Worth, and everybody thinks they're a Christian. It's like football, faith, and family. Like that's what we do. But you go to dig a little deeper, and there's just a lot of people that think because they grew up in a Christian family that they're done and dusted and good to go. And so coming into that culture is it's almost like the way I've said it before is you have to see people, you have to essentially teach people that they're not saved in order to get them saved. And so that contextually has been very different. And then obviously just being in Dallas-Fort Worth, again, it's the Bible Belt, so you're just dealing with different nuances there. But that would be like the biggest difference, I would say.
So you worked for your dad and now you work for your father-in-law.
Yeah.
What's that experience like in terms of working with family?
Honestly, amazing. And I'm aware that not everyone can say the same. But
Sure.
like, just have given so much freedom to what we do. And there's no... Like I've had conversations with Ed of just like, hey, what if we did that? And he loves to change. And so he's been like, oh, let's do this. And then there's moments where obviously just moments of correction and all the rest of it, but there's never been it's just been great. Like it really has. From both sides, working for my dad and working for my father-in-law. And obviously there's unique challenges and all the rest of it dealing with anybody.
Sure.
And that's what I always try to help teach young leaders is the grass always looks greener on the other side, and just understanding that there is no such thing as a perfect leader. And so I think the power is just staying planted where you are. And so, yeah, it's been an absolute privilege to do it.
So when Ed calls you and says, hey, I think you're gonna take over the youth ministry, walk us through some of that journey. You say, okay, maybe it's not like your first desire or want. You're sort of kind of doing so out of submission and out of obedience.
Yep.
But you're telling me you hadn't really preached yet at that point?
No, I'd maybe preached a couple of times at like a youth event or something of that nature.
You'd been leading worship, exhorting.
Yeah, totally.
Team building.
I get, and to the point where if you would have told me in 2018 when I moved here, like, hey, this is going to end up with you preaching like on a weekly basis, I'd be like, dude, I'll leave the ministry before. I did not want to do it. I'd much rather, now it's different, but back then I'd much rather go out and lead worship and sing a song than have to preach in front of people. And so I get that phone call and I'm like, are you sure you want me to do this? Like, I don't know. But I look back at that and it's where I appreciate Ed so much. Like he genuinely saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And so just start preaching and leading this thing and well and truly, but that's the beauty of youth ministry. Like, it's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And this is the perfect environment to just figure it out. And so just started preaching on a weekly basis, started leading this thing. And then we just started to see this thing grow. And obviously it was such a wild time from 2020 to 2022 with what young people were dealing with, the mental health struggles, the anxiety, the depression. And there was a real point at one summer camp where it wasn't me speaking, someone else was, and it was a room full of middle schoolers. And he asked everyone to bow their heads and close their eyes and just said, hey, if you struggle with suicide ideation or suicidal thoughts, like, would you raise your hand? We want to pray for you. And I'm standing in the back. And this was like 2021, I think. And a room full of 11, 12, and 13-year-olds, 3/4 of the room raised their hands. Jesus. And I'm going, dude, I don't know how to pastor these kids. Like, they're dealing with it. Like, I don't have the ability to like solve this. And so I remember going to bed that night thinking like, dude, I'm not cut out for this. Like, I'm not the guy to be able to help these people through this. And there was just a real moment that night that was like, you don't have to, because this thing isn't about you. And if you just preach Jesus and put the gospel in front of these students, that is where hope is found. And so it was a real turning moment for me, because it just felt like I'm doing this stuff that I feel like I'm not gifted at and not really cut out to do. And then it was just like this freeing moment of like, oh, this isn't about me. This isn't about my gifting or how good I can lead and figure out this thing. Like, if I just preach Jesus, if I just put the gospel front and center and say, hey, it's not me, don't look at me, it's him. And that is where you find your hope. That is where you find your healing. That is where you find your purpose. That is where you find your identity. And that was a real marking moment, specifically for me, but also within our youth ministry, of just a turning point of seeing some of the things that we've seen over the past few years.
Talk to me a little bit about like preaching and your journey of discovering that and getting better at that. I think that you're an excellent preacher.
Thank you.
And I think that you preach with, I think you're dynamic. I think you're bold. I think you're compelling. I think you're clear. I think you're helpful. I'm trying to think of other words I think about when I see you preach. Confident, but maybe just the journey, because you're saying, bro, this kind of just began, 6-7 years ago. What do you think you're learning? What's been helpful for you?
I love obviously just watching great preachers. And I love, if I can, just hearing the story behind how they create their content, how they read through scripture.
Did you always enjoy listening to preaching?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved listening. Like Judah Smith, dude. Like that was just like
this is fun.
I remember hearing Embrace Grace at a Hillsong conference and just being like, that guy.
Yep.
Whoa. And so
very cool.
So just hear, and obviously people like you and listening to great preaching and what it can do when someone is on stage and like the feeling you have after of just like, man, I want to love Jesus better. Like that was like, like that feeling that you can create as you're partnering with the Holy Spirit that can just shift in somebody's soul. And I think also from a creative and songwriting background, like it sounds kind of odd, but like I kind of view message writing like songwriting. And a big part of obviously you don't base your entire sermon off this, but a big part of the thing that I think about is like, what are people feeling as I'm walking through this content or this idea or this passage? And so, just listening to great speakers, like I love Tim Keller. Like the guy was an absolute G, and most people listening to him might think he's boring, but like he's in New York City. And so he's just got like this absolute, just all these different people from all these different backgrounds. So he had to be evangelistic. And he was also so smart. So he brings like psychology into stuff, and he always ended with Jesus. And I just loved like everything. He'd be preaching Lamentations and he would come back to Jesus. And so I loved looking at the way that people thought and the way that people communicated and just stealing kind of the best thoughts because again, I just didn't grow, this was out of my wheelhouse. So I just felt like I was forced to listen and to just kind of take the best of what other people do. Like one of the things that I love that Andy Stanley always did was like a sermon in a sentence. And it's just like one idea. And then Judah like takes people on a journey. Like you're like, I don't know where we're going. And by the end of it, you're like, oh, how did we get here? This is unreal. One of the things I love about you, like it's like a clear-cut picture of where you're going. Even this past Sunday, I loved the sermon because I love how you redeemed each point. It was just such a cool way to go about a sermon and bringing things back and forth. And so I now just feel like I just love great preaching and great preachers. And then I love the feeling as you're partnering with the Holy Spirit. One of my favorite things about preaching is the work that it does in you as a preacher before you get on stage, and you can feel it. Like when somebody gets up there and you're like, dude, they ate off this before they came here. Like that feeling of like, God, like you're working in me right now. And if that just translates, then dude, things can change. So
it's powerful.
It's a little bit of,
I love the idea that you were a songwriter first, because I really think that great sermons and great preachers have a melody to their voice.
100%.
They have a tune, if you will. And I don't think it's bad at all to say that it should make you feel something. I think if you want to minister, you better be able to make someone feel something. And I think even your comments on Tim Keller, it's only a shallow person that would ever, only a dull person, only a person who's not really listening that would ever even really land him in the bucket of boring.
Yeah, totally.
His ability of being cerebral, but then getting to the heart is just the pathway
and
there.
His stories and his analogies and even just his quotes. Like he's got a sermon on identity, and the way he talks about it is so brilliant. He says that as a Christian, you have the most secure identity on planet Earth because you realize you're incredibly rich and incredibly poor at the exact same time. You're incredibly rich because if you've put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ, you're the recipient of the grace of God that you could never put a price tag on. Like you are rich. But you're also incredibly poor. And that's because you realize you did nothing to earn it or deserve it. And so it just gives you this stable identity because the gospel humbles the proud and heals the insecure. And when I hear great, I'm like, good night, that's unbelievable.
I'm always angry listening to him because I'm like, how'd you cover that much ground in 26 minutes?
I know.
I'm up there 52 minutes like, you said nothing. But did
That's
you like
not
my
true.
story?
What about the boots?
Yeah, did you see my Harley boots? I'm spiraling.
I love it so much.
You really are seeing some amazing things take place in youth ministry. I want to talk a little about youth ministry. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because of a couple things that you described. That time that you're watching that altar call.
Yeah.
I love seeing grown men like you have a heart and a burden for a generation of people and go, all right, I'm going to play my part, which is to give Jesus as the answer. But 3/4 of the room, my kids are going to be 11 and 12 soon.
Yeah.
I need somebody that can speak their language and get to them. But also just that your own story of being 17 years of age, it's like, all right, I just met my wife. All right, I've been going to youth camp. I'm getting shaped. So much of my formation, so much of my skills, so much of my fire comes from those teenage years. And so it's so pivotal and so important. And I want to see a revival break out here in Miami with students. And Dakota and I are talking about it. And I love Dakota because he's roughly your age. But
I love Dakota.
Same thing. It's like you guys are grown men that are very gifted that could be doing other things. And sometimes I think even the world that we live in, we're like, hey, why don't you go do this other thing right now? And it's like, well, this is the thing that God's got me on assignment with. Let's just talk a little bit about that, about what you're seeing. But I also want to kind of, if there's maybe a youth pastor watching or some other lead pastors watching today, that we might be able to be helpful just from even your own experiences.
Yeah, I think what's cool is at least from what I'm seeing is we're not unique in the genuine revival that I believe is taking place with the next generation. I think some of the things that I've heard that have just been so helpful to kind of articulate what's going on and what has happened is from 2020 to 2022 is a really rough time for everyone in ministry, but it's specifically for people leading students. And it was because I believe they were just being fed so much nonsense of truth doesn't exist, you can become whatever you want. And they realized that it didn't work. It ended up in destruction. And so the way I heard it articulated, and I think this is a brilliant way to say it, is that this generation came to the end of themselves far earlier than any other generation. And so it brought them to a sense of spiritual openness that has been higher than any other generation. But you and I both know that spiritual openness doesn't always lead to Jesus. And so as the church, we've got a job to do with young people who are hurting and desperate and need real answers. And so off the back of that, you've got this spiritual hunger and this passion and this zeal, and you get to go, hey, you know how you can sense that the world is broken, and you know how you can sense that something inside of you is broken? That's actually a biblical idea, and there's an answer, there's a solution to that, and his name is Jesus. And so we have just seen this hunger, this openness in this generation like I have never, ever seen before, of just a passion for something that's true, a passion for something that's real. And man, once they find it, they are all in. And so we've got students that are just, desperate to see their friends who are lost come into church, come into God's house and experience the life and fullness that they have. And so, we just try to create as many opportunities as we can to get people outside of the four walls into the four walls.
Right now in Dallas, I think there's always new methods taking place. I love that quote by E.M. Bounds that the church keeps looking for a method, God keeps looking for a man.
Hey,
it'll preach. But nonetheless, God picks a man, and then you have to figure out ways of scaling things, developing things, building things. You need structures. You need new methods. And we're in a building where I kind of cut my teeth doing youth and young adult ministry. We used to have a Tuesday night young adult service called The Rendezvous, which actually created the church that we're in. And God really, really blessed it. But man, we were in Miami Gardens. And so we were sort of in this urban context, sort of an inner city kind of space. And I had grown up, or I'd been in Bible college outside of Atlanta, Georgia, in Cleveland, Tennessee. And so I'd spent a lot of time going down to 722, watching Louis Giglio teach.
Oh yeah.
So that's who I was really impressed by.
Yeah.
But then when I moved to Miami Gardens, it's this ain't gonna work, I tried for a a few months to, teach the stars, and it's like, bro, it ain't working here.
That ain't it.
And before you know it, we created this place called The Rendezvous. And in many ways, this is many years ago, I know someone's gonna come for me, but I think we were mimicking and modeling off of the world in terms of technique of gathering people, but redeeming those things. Right now at VOU, we wouldn't use really any of those techniques that we were doing because it was for that time,
100%
in that moment. But when something starts working, people start kind of copying it, repeating it. And I'm not even blasting that. I'm just going, it was a model. It's not something to build everything on. It worked then. What are some things right now? Because you and I were kind of having this conversation. I'm not trying to blast anything, but I think some of the model that we're doing at VOU is opposite of some of the things that you're doing. And I think we're kind of putting our ear and watching what you guys are doing, but you guys are in weekly services. Maybe just share some of that right now in terms of what you feel like is being effective in this season in Dallas under your youth ministry.
Yeah, 100%. So we're doing weekly Wednesday night services. And one of the things that we learned, exactly what you said, just what's different. Like back in the day, like we were joking with some of our team the other week of like in youth ministry in like 2012, like if you get up and play like a Drake song, people are like, oh my gosh, dude, I can't believe this is happening. Today, they can find a million videos on TikTok that are 10 times cooler than anything you're going to give them on a Wednesday night. So just give them the one thing they can't get anywhere else.
Good.
The message of Jesus Christ. Good. And just don't hold any punches. And so we are meeting weekly, and then we're trying to give opportunities. We have something called One Night where it's a big evangelistic push. We give t-shirts to first-time guests and bringers. We print them all and you get them for free. And it's just a way for students to get excited and fired up about bringing their friends. And then we just preach the gospel. And similar to what you kind of walked through this past weekend, but just you can't talk about the grace of God and salvation without first and foremost addressing sin and starting there with the problem of sin that resides inside of all of us. And one of my favorite thoughts, we did a series on the weekend a couple months ago on Romans, and we were just talking about the wrath and the judgment of God. And so like our last one night, I start talking about the wrath and the judgment of God. Like who would have thought in youth ministry?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I'm really curious about this.
But what I love is the judgment and justice of God is evidence of the goodness of God. Because if you walked into a courtroom and someone committed murder, and the judge is like, yeah, you know what? He seems like he's pretty sorry. Like, I'll just let him go. No one would say that's a good judge. They'd say that's an evil judge. That's a corrupt judge. Yet that's exactly what many of us want God to do with our sin. He can't just let it go. So what does he do? He puts on flesh and bone, and he takes the punishment, and justice is served. And so what I've found is students and people in general, you can't understand how good the grace of God is until you first and foremost look at how bad your sin is. And that is what opens people's hearts up to go, oh yeah, like I do need a savior. I can't do this on my own. And that's the beauty of the gospel. And so we're just trying to create opportunities to get lost people into the room, to preach the gospel straight through. And we're seeing some really special things take place. Like this past one was in February, and we just do spontaneous baptisms in that night. And we had close to 200 baptisms just happen in the moment of young people. And I mean, there are some crazy stories. There's a school that moved their basketball game so that because so many of their students wanted to come to one night, they moved their basketball game to a different night so that this school could show up. There's like 50 to 75 kids that came from this school.
Let's go.
And then as we're baptizing kids, I remember there's one guy who walked in and the dude was 17, but he looked like he was 30 and had been through some stuff. And he gets in and immediately just breaks down and is weeping, and baptize him. And he walks out, and we ended up baptizing like 70 kids after him. And I go to turn the corner, and he's still weeping in the corner, and he's hugging his friend, and he's saying, dude, your invite has saved my life. Thank you for bringing me here. Jesus has changed my life. And we are just seeing stories like that continue to take place because of young people, 1 Timothy 4:12, that know why they're here. They don't have to wait to see God use them. They can be used right here and right now, by using the unique gifts, talents, and abilities that God has given them to be a light wherever they are. And we're seeing it take place. And so much of it is like, man, we just feel like we are stewarding what God is doing, because you can't manufacture a move of God. It's like God is doing something special right now, and we're just trying to do everything we can to steward it well along the way.
Seems like we're in an interesting cultural moment, at least here in America, just because even as I hear you talk, and even just, the theme of the big youth night, let's talk about the wrath and the judgment of God. And I think it's kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, which maybe we can kind of lean into that just a little bit more. I feel, and once again, that's what I'm going to go off of, like when I was starting off in ministry in 2007, 23 years of age, starting young adult ministry in Miami, it felt to me, at least that's what was the technique and the methodology, that it required serious nuance.
Yes.
It seemed like there was a connotation on us as a church, as a believer, as a Christian at that time. At least that was my experience, that, man, as I just even say, I have so many memories on the airplane. It's like every preacher has this like feeling. It's like, hey, so what do you do? And you're like, am I going to tell this dude?
100%.
Because you're either going to get this guy, he's either going to like just turn you off completely, like this guy's an idiot, or he's going to confess every sin. You're like, bro, like I'm actually not on the clock right now, man. I'm just trying to get back from, Des Moines. It's like, it's just, there's no normalcy, right? It's just like, there's these extreme things. And so I felt like in so many ways I was trained in the art of nuance, like becoming all things to all men that you might reach one. It seems probably since COVID, maybe since 2020, that where you see a lot of fruit or where you see a lot of momentum or where you see a lot of salvation is that there is this hunger for like black and white clarity.
Yes.
And for me, there's never been a question about what I believe.
Totally.
There's never ever been a question about my doctrine or where I stand on any issue.
Yep.
There has always been a conversation around how are we going to catch the fish? Because you can't clean them until you catch them.
Yeah.
And so a good fisherman is like, I'll use any bait. Like, come follow me. I'll make you fishers of men. So like, I'm following Jesus and I think followers fish. And so I've always been into fishing. And so I'm always wanting to understand, and read signs of the times. And as I'm listening right now, as I'm watching so many people, I feel like there's such a hunger from a generation. Like when you tell me that's what you're preaching, I think it's like, I'm all about it, bro. I was raised that way,
night.
But I don't remember my big night. I may be leading to that, but it's not, might not be like, let me give you the theological truths right now. So I find that fascinating. And I think what you're saying is right. I think there's been so many lies spewed. And the lies haven't worked.
Yes.
And so how's that going for you?
Yeah.
Hey, how's that worked out for you? And at some point you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
The old preacher line is, that's where you just sometimes discover that Jesus is the rock at the bottom.
Yeah.
I find that really, really encouraging. I find that really exciting that you can go into a space and because they've already had so much deception and they've already heard so many wild things, like coming in just with the truth.
Totally.
Truth sets people free.
Yeah, it does. And like, I want to make sure, like, we're not here to, and you know this, but we're not bashing the Bible over people's heads and it's like the wrath and the judgment of God. But I just think exactly what you're saying, like the culture has shifted. Like they just want the truth. Like they want to be told the truth. And, we have found that just the reception, because here's what I've found, especially as a youth pastor, is like, if we don't, in the hour and 30 minutes that we have them one time a week, if we don't shape them in the ways of Jesus, if we don't disciple them, they're going to get discipled in their locker rooms. They're going to get discipled on social media. And that, again, is just like this recipe for disaster. And again, to what you're saying, the culture has shifted. They just want to know, what does the Bible say about this stuff? I want to know because I want to follow Jesus and I want to follow him wholeheartedly. And so there is a desperation and a hunger for just shoot me straight, tell me the truth. And that's where the gospel comes in and just and gets to speak to those different areas and speak to what Jesus said and hold that unapologetically, and not for the sake of just, again, beating people up, but for them to find truth, because sin, as good as it looks and as good as it may feel at certain points, always leads to destruction. The beauty of repentance is a 180 turn. I no longer have to go down this path that's going to lead to death and destruction. I have the joy of repenting and turning from that and finding life and life everlasting. Now that oftentimes is difficult in the moment, difficult in the short term, but incredibly beneficial in the long term. And sin may feel good in the short term, but it's destructive in the long term. And so we're just trying to help young people navigate that. Again, in the 90 minutes that we get to have conversations with them, I want to disciple them. I want to tell them what the word says. So
if it's not fun in the morning, it's not fun.
That'll preach.
I do think it's also an interesting cultural moment that I think we have to pay attention to, because I think it has to be stewarded well.
Yes.
A couple months ago, Drewski put out a clip about like the preacher and all this stuff, and everyone's like, wants a comment or a reaction. And first and foremost, I think he has his own observations of the churches that he's been to.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think that stuff that he's mocking, that stuff needs to clean up 100%.
Yeah.
But my thought on the whole thing that was really interesting is, oh my goodness, the most famous comedian in the world right now, the thing that is his most viral video is something on the church.
Yep.
All that tells me is the church has never been more relevant.
Yep.
In America, at least. The church has never been more watched,
Totally.
paid attention to. And so I just think it requires leaders right now. What's that scripture in Psalm where it's like, and David, he shepherded them with integrity of heart and skillful hands.
Yeah.
And there's something right now about this moment about stewarding it, which is like, all right, each and every one of us, what's the condition of my heart?
Yep.
The skill of my hands that I'm continuing to grow, continuing to get better.
Yes.
Because I think that as people get saved, like you're being saved into what you were just saying, like the joy of our salvation.
Yes.
I love how David's like, remind me of the joy of my salvation. Like, it's a joy. It's
a gift.
Serving Jesus.
Yep.
It's a gift. Like, what a beautiful thing this is. Like this life we get to live.
Yeah.
We wrote a song this past year called Life in Color. And it's like, what a life in Jesus, love, joy, and peace.
Yep.
And so I don't just want to see people get saved. I want to see people get sanctified. I want to see people go on the journey.
Yep.
And I want to raise kids like how you were raised. Like, this is a joy being in the house of God. This is fun. I want to bring people here. I don't have to endure this. I get to enjoy it. And so I do think on Mature Me, it's like we're in such a moment right now. Like, let's steward this well.
100%.
Let's be the leaders that are worth following. Be the leaders that you want to be around.
Yep.
Continuing to grow in that. One of the things I really love about you is that you've had, at a young age, I think a lot of different experiences. And I think that you are a man of submission. I'm always paying attention to men like that are very, very gifted, but they're like, I'm submitted to someone above me. And you've served your dad, you served your father-in-law. I love that you're in youth ministry right now. I think that's powerful. I love that you are seeing the fruit that you're seeing, but you've also walked through real trials. I feel like from 2021, and I don't know how much you want to comment on, but even your wife losing her sister, I think in 2022, you guys giving birth to a baby girl.
14 weeks into Lori's pregnancy, Can
you share any of those things in terms of what you learned and walking through those moments? Of
for sure. I learned a
pain?
lot. So in 2021, my sister-in-law passed away essentially from binge drinking and alcohol. And just an aside there, it's our pastor's oldest daughter, Lee Beth Young, and she was 34 years old. And my respect for Ed and Lisa was already sky high. And seeing them walk through and navigate this, I mean, it's just through the ceiling. Because obviously, someone in their position, they don't have to share all the details, but they decided to, for the sake of if it helps another person find hope and healing, then we're going to share it and use it to help people as they're walking through grief, or maybe they're dealing with addiction, to find hope and find restoration. And so that happened in January of 2021, and it was, we knew she was struggling, but it was obviously, we were blindsided by it. We were not expecting it. And I remember, there's just so many moments. I remember one moment, my wife went over to Lee Beth's house after just to get some closure. And, she drives up and the car's sitting in the driveway, and she goes into the house and the clothes are, in her closet and everything's in place and there's boxes. And she called me and she's just in tears and she goes, "Sam, you take nothing with you. You don't take anything with you." And just the eternal perspective that you get in moments like that. And so that was really, really challenging. And then later that year, we found out that we were pregnant with our third. And so it's this weird mixture of emotions, because you're dealing with the grief of losing someone, and you're also celebrating this new life coming. And then it would have been, I believe, in February, my wife goes to a routine doctor's appointment, and she FaceTimes me and says, "Sam, there's no heartbeat." And I remember just getting that call and being like, there's no way. There's no way. Off the heels of this happening, there's no way this is happening. And so I get in my car. I am praying the entire way. God, I know you're a miracle worker and you can bring a heartbeat back to our baby girl. So I'm praying that you would do that by the time I get to this office, that our girl has a heartbeat. And I walk into the office, and the doctor goes to give another sonogram, and she just looks at us and says, "I'm so sorry." And because of how far along she was in the pregnancy, she was like, "Hey, we're going to have you deliver this beautiful baby." And so we went into the hospital, And it felt like such a blur. But I remember seeing my wife just put her hand on her belly. It makes me emotional. But she said, God, thank you for the gift of carrying this beautiful baby girl for 14 weeks. And seeing a strength within her off the back of losing her sister, being able to articulate those words. I mean, I'm just like, good night. And so I will never forget her giving birth to beautiful Daisy Joy Kelly and seeing her put her in the regular thing that they put the babies in, but she's just so much smaller. And looking over and just it felt like my heart was ripped out of my chest. Like thinking about the memories that I don't get, the first day of school, don't get to see her go to prom, don't get to walk her down the aisle. And I just remember just sincerely just feeling devastated and broken. Like what is like, God, like how, like I understand suffering and all the rest of it and that you can't escape it, but like really, like off the heels of this is what we get. And I just remember in that season, I preached a sermon on Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane and just talked about seemingly unanswered prayers and that you can't mistake God's silence for his absence. And we experienced, while the prayer wasn't answered the way we wanted, we experienced the presence of God in that season through friends, through family, through prayers, in ways that I could not explain. And just, if you're, the thing that I said was, if you're in the club of unanswered prayers, you're funnily enough in a good club, because Jesus 3 times says, if there's a way for this cup to pass, take it from me. And yet it's from that seemingly unanswered prayer that we can sit here today and talk about Jesus and the gospel and the good news of Jesus Christ. And so in the midst of that, what it has done for me is it's granted me a pastoral heart that I did not have before when other people walk through loss, because when you feel it and you've been through it, it's different. And you just understand the power of what to say, what not to say, the power of presence, and honestly, the power of endurance. Like Laurie and I, to a certain degree, and obviously certainly to Ed and Lisa losing their daughter, like we're still standing, we're still going, we're still trusting God, we're still believing that our best days are ahead of us. And God granted us the most beautiful rainbow baby, little Bowie Sunshine Kelly. And she is so fun and amazing and spicy. And so we've seen the goodness of God in the midst of the valley, and we've seen the goodness of God on the mountaintop, and we're following him no matter what. And so yeah, that's, we're, to a certain degree in that season, it was just like, just keep showing up today, Sam. Like just preach, just go, just lead, just keep saying yes to the Lord today. Yeah, we've just seen the grace of God all over that circumstance, and still is certainly a wound that's soft to the touch. Sure. But we know that one day we will see both our beautiful girl and Lee Beth in eternity one day.
I love that you said the seemingly, unanswered prayer.
Yeah.
That old concept that, God answers all of our prayers.
Yep.
Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no, oftentimes it's just not yet.
Yep.
And you even referenced Jesus in the garden, praying that prayer 3 times.
Yep.
The Apostle Paul prayed a prayer 3 times too.
Totally.
Take this thorn from me.
Thorn.
And in many ways, it's like, it looks like God says, no, but in many ways, like, I'm going to answer your prayer.
Yep.
I'm just going to do it a different way.
Yep.
I'm going to keep the thorn there because that thorn has a purpose. That thorn has a plan in your life.
Yep.
And it's for my glory. And I think suffering, I heard Levi teaching on it not too long ago. He was at our church and it was so good because, here's a man who's gone through, his father just passed. And of course he held his own little baby girl in his arms when she had an asthma attack.
Yep.
He talked about it like laundry, that you have to sort the laundry. You have to put, the whites over there, the colors over there, the darks over there. And what it means is like compartmentalizing. Like, I got to compartmentalize. All right, what haven't I lost?
Yep.
Well, I haven't lost, the lessons, the memories. What can't I lose? Well, every day I'm on this earth, I'm closer to seeing them again.
Yep.
We who are in Christ are mourning. We mourn with hope. But what have I lost? And so learning how to mourn, effectively, which is like, you don't have to mourn these other parts. You have to mourn, what you just said. I won't get to walk her down the aisle. That's a real thing. You have to handle that. And I love how you're talking about the empathy. I was with a friend 2 nights ago. We were walking, and he's gone through some personal challenges. God's redeemed some things. But recently he and his wife went through a miscarriage. Miscarriage is one of those kind of strange things that like before you like ever get pregnant, even getting pregnant, right?
Yes.
Like before I ever got pregnant, like you'd be in small groups, like, can we pray? We're going to give birth tomorrow. You're like, yeah, cool. Like you don't even, you have no idea like the miracle of delivery or like how hard it is to get pregnant until you go through infertility.
Yep.
But even like a miscarriage is like, that sounds so common in our ear. But man, people that go through miscarriage, there's a real mourning even attached to that, even though they never got to even meet their baby. And so he had gone through that. And I was just trying to take a moment just to minister that what you said. I was like, man, you're going to look back at some point in life and you're going to see the work of God and the hand of God and the blessing of God, even in this pain, because it's expanding your heart. It's giving you a bigger capacity to minister, to help people. But what you guys went through with your baby girl and even the suffering of Lee Beth was a friend of mine. I have really good memories with your sister-in-law. What would you say to somebody out there right now that is in kind of that cycle of grief? I've got some friends, even currently right now, who are going through somewhat of a diagnosis with a baby, like you are. How would you minister to someone like that if someone's listening right now?
I mean, I would just say, what I was going to say is, I think in the church context, what can sometimes be the thought is like, you just kind of like ignore it and just like I've run into people that are walking through certain things and they're like, oh yeah, like we had a miscarriage, but God is good. And it's like, yeah, for sure, God is good. But that doesn't mean that didn't hurt.
Yeah, good.
And you don't heal by pretending something doesn't hurt. You heal by allowing Jesus to meet you in the middle of your hurt. And that's just, it is, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. You don't have to pretend like your heart isn't broken when it is. That's not the way you heal. You heal by admitting where you're actually at and just saying, Jesus, I need you right here and right now. And you can rest assured that he is right there in the midst of your pain, in the midst of your grief. We serve a suffering God. He experienced it himself, and he promises to meet us in the midst of it. And so that would be my encouragement to people who are walking through it. Walk through it. This doesn't just like you wake up one morning and it's gone. You can't ignore it. You can't pretend like it's there. You can't stuff it down, or you can to a certain degree, but at one point that thing's going to erupt like a volcano. You've got to process it, and you've got to invite God in the middle of it and let him meet you right there. And when you do, my goodness, you find a depth that you did not know was present. And that is what I have experienced. My perspective of eternity and this life that we have here has been shaped by those moments. Like the Philippians 1:21, Paul, like, to live is Christ, to die is gain. Like, he understands, like, man, it's gonna be better over there, but if I'm here, Christ is everything I do, it's about Christ. And it just shapes the way that you live on a daily basis. And it's changed my perspective of the things that I used to stress and worry about. Man, it just gives you a grounding that I certainly didn't have before those experiences.
I was reading Ecclesiastes this morning, the words of Solomon. Ecclesiastes is the teacher or the preacher.
Yep.
And I think it's chapter 7 or chapter 8. It's better to be in a house of mourning than a wedding feast. What? Because when you're close to death, it's death that gives you the appreciation of life. It's 100%. The gospel, right? Until I know the bad news, I can't appreciate the good news. And there is something very, very sobering when we get that close to it to go, oh, wait a minute, there better be something more than this. Otherwise, like Solomon, everything is meaningless. He ends that book saying, well, after all this stuff I just told you, fear God, fear the Lord.
Totally.
And I believe it. I love what we're saying. I think it's important. My friend Tim Ross says it this way. He says, words unspoken are wounds untreated.
Wow.
And I just think it's like, I don't just want to move past the moment.
Totally.
Yes, God is unchanging.
Absolutely.
God isn't changing, but I do.
Yep.
And if we don't process these things, we end up bleeding and festering onto people that never hurt us, or opportunities that never hurt us. And so I just even appreciate, your vulnerability of even sharing on that. It is powerful to see the fact that that God in many ways has blessed you with 3 beautiful children. You're a young dad. I'm a little bit older than you, but our kids are roughly around the same age. What are you learning right now as a dad, and what are some of the things that are really important to you in this season, having your boys that age? Like, are there some fundamentals? Are there some real principles that you're trying to?
Yeah, well, just having boys, teaching them the power of just not quitting at a young age. I just want them to have that tenacity and that grit to just like keep going. And so it's funny, I ran a marathon last year, and a big part of it was to like, it was something, I hate running. I just despise it, like without a purpose. Like if we're gonna play a sport, I'm in, but just running for running's sake is like the worst idea on planet Earth.
That's what they're doing in hell. They're in treadmills
Seriously,
and
just nonstop. And so I literally told my boys, like, hey, dad's doing something that he doesn't like, because Kelly boys don't quit. And so just teaching them, like, that's one of the things that I'm definitely trying to teach them. And then I think on the ministry side of things is I just want them to come along for the ride. I just want them, that's one of the things that I loved my dad did. We would go on trips with him and see different churches, and you would get this big picture of what the church was, and that it's so cool to see so many different styles and different places and contexts. And so I want our kids to have that broad picture of the church and what we're a part of, and the fact that it's fun, like it's enjoyable. And that's one of the biggest things right now, of just like that, letting them come to church and experience the joy of the house of the Lord. Like that's what I want.
That's so big for Don Shree and I. Same. You have such a great dad. My dad just brought us everywhere.
Yes.
I think I learned more about the ministry just traveling with dad, not even what he did on the stage.
Same.
Usually what he did off the stage,
the
like lunch afterwards and like hanging out. And we just bring our kids everywhere.
Yes.
And we're those people like, I have a friend the other day, and we're having to have some work done in the house, but he's a single guy. He's got a beautiful home. He's my neighbor, but we're having to have some of our roof fixed, and we might have to move out for a couple of weeks. He's like, bro, come stay at my house. I'm like, homie, you have no idea.
You don't know what
you
you're inviting.
It sounds so beautiful what you're suggesting. You will leave the church. You will hate me. You'll write blogs about me. Where I come, a tornado is coming. I'm Pecos Bill, bro. Okay,
dude.
Bro, you tell him I'm coming, and all the hell's coming with me. Okay,
exactly.
Like we're not living in your house, homie. like,
look at me. You don't want this.
You don't want this. But it's sort of like an unspoken thing. It's like if you invite Rich or DC somewhere, it's like there's about to be so many
party.
people around, and we were joking because 2 stories on Levi now. Levi was just here with us, and his little boy came, and his boy Lennox is the same age as Wyatt. It's so cool. But they were back home afterwards, and we kind of just wined and dined Lennox. We had an itinerary. They're
awesome.
at the park.
That's
and
so cool.
They're at the bounce house place, and they're at football. He went to 2 different kids' birthday parties. He doesn't even know, And they were back home, and Levi does a big youth conference every year called Movement that I've preached at before. And
I love it.
He was talking with his kids, and he's like, hey, do you guys think that maybe Uncle Rich should come back? They're like, yeah, we would love, let's get Uncle Rich back to Montana. We need him back out here. And Lennox is like, yeah, bring him. But do you think he's going to bring like all the kids and all their nannies? I'm like, dude, this 8-year-old's not going to roast me.
Put you on blast, dude.
Don't roast me, Lennox. Like, and they're 4 nannies. Okay. You're making me sound like I'm the guy from WeWork or something, bro. Sorry, we're trying to take care of this tribe. He said that. He's like, they're going to bring all the kids and they're 4 nannies. Bro, by the way, we don't have 4 nannies.
I love that.
But there is a lot of people that help us. It takes a village around here.
It does take a village,
but
brother.
Levi called me and thought that was funny. I was like, Levi, dude, shut up.
I love that
They're
so
4 nannies.
much.
They're going to do my documentary. I'm like the WeWork guy, like, and all their nannies.
No, great show, by the way.
Yeah, it was fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Wild.
I think I would like that guy.
Me too.
I want to work for him.
Seems like a fun guy.
I think I want to work for him. Like, well, you're crazy, bro. All right. So we always ask this question. This is called Mature Me. What's an area right now in your life that you want to mature in, that you want to grow in?
Area that I'm trying to mature in. I would say one area that comes to mind would be capacity. I'm just in a season where I'm doing more than I've obviously ever done before. And I heard someone say it, I forget who it was, but they just said, don't pray for a lighter load, pray for broader shoulders. And that's a prayer that I'm praying in the season that I'm in. And then maybe another would be, it seems like it's contradictory, but to me they work in tandem, and that's just resting well. It sounds like a super millennial answer, but not like a sabbatical per se, but just there's a difference between a day off and resting that refuels. And so just knowing, living within the rhythms of ministry and all of that, resting well, and I believe that's the way that your capacity does increase, is that as you're going, you take intentional time to rest, and to rest specifically in a way that replenishes you and your soul. And so those are the two areas that come to mind for me.
I love that prayer. I'm praying the same thing. It's, to me, I'm always going, Lord, expand my capacity.
Yep.
It's like I don't have a stress problem. I have a capacity problem. And they talk about good stress plus rest equals success.
Come on.
And there's something to that. Like I don't want to avoid the work or avoid the challenge.
Totally.
That's given me purpose. That's what I'm here for. But if I'm not resting, if I'm not figuring out how to manage it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, I like that you clarify that, because, once again, so many people in Gen Z, it's like, I need a sabbatical. I'm like, dude, you're 24.
Legit. Like you
and you understand
don't need nothing.
You understand that the Jewish rhythm was like, you work 6 days.
Yeah. How many of you are actually doing that?
Yeah, you don't work 3 days.
So real. Dude, I'm a barista 2 days a week. It's a lot, Rich.
It's work 6 days, and then it's 1 day, a full 24 hours of no work. But in all of that, I think what you just said is important, because binge watching Netflix, for instance, is probably not rest.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with my friend Annie yesterday, and we were talking about the difference between a dopamine hit and a dopamine drip.
Yeah.
And you wake up in the morning, you pull out your phone, that's a dopamine hit.
100%.
But if you wake up in the morning and open your blinds and see the sunlight, that's a dopamine drip. And you're meant to drip, not hit. And I think so many times we're not figuring out our rest cadence. By the way, I got my hand up too. Like, I'm not like, it's always easier to teach things than it is to live things.
Yes, it is.
And so I think those are great things. Yeah. And you're going to do it. I'm grateful for you. I want to let you know that
Likewise.
we love
Thanks
you,
for having
that
me
we are celebrating all that you're doing, all that's on you, all that's in you. I don't think you've seen anything yet, and it's going to be really exciting to watch these next 10 years, what God's going to do and how he's going to unfold it. And so stay the course, my friend. We got your back. We're cheering you on.
Thanks, brother.
This is Sam Kelly, everybody. Go check out what he's doing. Follow him on all the spaces, and he's a good friend, and I think they're doing a great work, and so you're going to be encouraged. Also, we're so happy that you're still around. If you are here, we are just a couple of months away from our favorite thing all year, which is VOUSCON 2026. Did you know Stephen Furtick's coming? Did you know Michael Koulianos is going to be with us? Elevation Rhythm, Abby Gamboa, my wife, our team, so many others. We'd love for you to be there. If you're not signed up, right now is the moment. Spots are limited. Check this out. We love you guys.
Once you're washed by the blood, you are different. You have a new ID. Without Jesus, we are lost. But with Jesus, everything changes. The blood of Jesus is a red line through your fear. Fear, gone. Shame, gone. Insecurity, gone. My past is gone. The labels they placed on me, gone. The words that my parents spoke over me, gone.
I'll praise you now.
God is calling pastors and preachers and leaders and prophets and evangelists. He's building his church.
It is a building of your faith that is producing within you the strength to know where your help comes from.
Jesus is victorious. He is not average. He is phenomenal, and he is no longer in the grave. He is mighty and risen indeed.
And I'm telling you, like Isaiah, if you ever saw God, you would say, woe is me. I'm a man of unclean lips.